I am here with Corey Vanderflew. I'm not going to introduce you because your biography is intense. I want you to kind of talk about your background, how you got into photography, and I'd like you to kind of focus on the pivotal moments on your discovery of photography and how you got into where you are today.
Okay, well, I guess it all started when I was a skier. I skied a lot when I was a kid. And I got really injured one year and I couldn't ski. So then I started filming as much skiing as I could. And then that led me to go to college for film school. And when I was in film school, I realized I wanted to be behind a camera. I pretty much spent my whole life behind a camera, but this is when I really saw the drive to, push forward. And after film school finished, I started working in Toronto on union jobs, like big budget features as a grip. So like 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying, and Max Payne and stuff, but just like a low level grip. And I figured I'd work my way up to becoming behind the camera, become a DP. But then about a year into that, I realized the youngest working DP in Toronto was like 47. So I was like, I can't.
20 years.
Yeah, I can't do this grind for another 20 years. So then I decided to take a sidestep into photography where I figured if I can shoot, direct, and just kind of be in charge of all of that, that's kind of in the same vein. I got really lucky. I guess I was extremely persistent with the emails. I met a mentor named Steve Carty, and I was able to mentor under him and work at a studio. And I ended up just absorbing it. I'd be the first one there, last one to leave for like 4 or 5 years commuting from Oakville, a small little suburb out of Toronto. And then once I would do that, I really abused the space. I was an assistant, right? So they would let me shoot here and there, but I really abused the studio space where I would just shoot so much and every free moment would be me shooting. And then they were like, all right, you gotta pay rent here. You're using the space too much, you have to pay rent. And it was funny because right when I started working for him, he told me I was trying to do part-time gigs like flipping burgers or delivering papers or be an assistant editor for like a wedding company. And he told me if I want to be a photographer as a job, I can't do anything else. I can't half-ass, so I got to jump in with 2 feet, which is a hard thing to hear when you're broke. I gotta quit my job, I gotta have no money.
Right.
He says that'll be the fire that lights under your ass to push you forward. So I started doing that. So I started shooting when I was model agents would pay for prints. So my biggest income of money, the first source of income I ever got was selling prints to models. I would shoot them for free. If they liked the photos, I would charge them like $15 for a print.
Wow.
And I would start doing that, maybe I'd make $100. And there's my rent for the month. And then from there, I just kept doing it. Shoot, I felt like I was never shooting enough. I wasn't getting good enough. So just the repetition, do it again. And then I slowly started to find my groove with working with teams and working with stylists and makeup artists that were all, I don't want to say bad, but on my level, not good. But I mean, that's how you get better. You learn how to run a crew, you learn how to run a team. Steve Carty, my first photography mentor, said that photography, when you're working with a team, is like wheels on a car. So if you have a good stylist, a good makeup artist, a great model, but I'm bad, the car will still run. But if you can have all 4 wheels running and going in the same direction, you're gonna be great. So it was working with that, working with teams. And then I would just work more and more and more, a lot of free jobs, a lot of constantly checking my bank account. Am I gonna be able to make it another month? Crap. But then it did. I started making my income that way. I started getting more and more money. I was lucky enough to do a job in New York. I did it for free. It's not like I'm getting paid to go to New York. But from there, I met a woman named Gabby Sirkin in a bar, of all places. And she was the business manager for Platon. And Platon was like one of my favorite photographers when I started shooting. And also my photography mentor's favorite photographer. So what are the odds I meet him? So she essentially gave me a chance and told me to hit her up because we made like a nice quick little bond in this bar for 20 minutes, and then she went off and she gave me her email address. I screenshotted it, lost the email address.
Yeah.
Shattered. So I go on that online Gabby Serpin, write her an email because I find her email. It's another Gabby Serpin in the photo industry that was working for like Vanity Fair or something. She's like, this happens all the time. Here's her actual email. I was like, holy, what luck.
Great.
And then I met her and she didn't know I was Canadian. So she goes, you want to come into the studio in Green Street in Soho and we can review your work. So I was like, sure. So I bust down there for like $3. Wow. Got in at 6 a.m., slept in Central Park till 10, went to Soho, met her. She loved it. She loved my work, loved my video editing stuff because Platon was trying to go more and more into video. So she saw my video production and was like, yeah, we'd love to bring you up. Can you come back next week? Sure. Still didn't tell her I was Canadian. Bus all the way back, 20-hour bus.
Jesus.
Come back, meet him again, do the exact same thing. 2-day commute there, or a day and a half commute there. Another 20-minute meeting. Go all the way back to Canada. But then they say, we want you to start editing these videos. If you look at like his early stuff, when he was shooting like Buzz Aldrin or Ed Snowden, he took these videos with he would do these little interviews before he shoots, because before he shoots he talks for like 30 minutes, so he decided to record these and then he would video edit the photos. So I was doing all these video editing for him in their studio, and then I go back home to Canada and I did that like 6 times, which is so taxing. But I figured New York's the Mecca, New York and Los Angeles are the Mecca. I feel like you can't be at the top of your game in photography if you live in Cincinnati, no offense to Cincinnati, or even Toronto. Toronto, my work was looked down upon. Nobody wanted to give me a chance. Side story, now that I'm in New York, I get all these jobs in Toronto. It's just people want to hire me. I would never want to hire a Toronto photographer, which was very odd. So then I meet him. He asked if I wanted to become his first assistant because I really got along with Gabby, who was his business manager, and Gabby didn't get along with his previous assistant. They kind of butted heads, so she was trying to swap him out. So he met me, he goes, you want to be my first assistant? I go, actually, I'm Canadian. I would love to, but I'm Canadian. But since I started working in Toronto, my whole drive was to create a portfolio or tear sheet so I could immigrate to the US. I always had that in the back of my head. So all these free sheets I would do would be submit to magazines, submit to an Instagram account, somehow to get tear sheets. That's all I wanted. I figure if I'm gonna do it for free and I can get a tear sheet, I'm very happy. It's kind of antiquated now. There's still cool publications. But when he said, I have a lawyer, do you have a package? I was like, I got a package. I already have all of my stuff stacked. Yada, yada, yada. I got the job with him and I immigrated to New York, which was crazy. The fact that every time I cross the bridge on the J train, it blows my mind that I live in New York and I'm a photographer still to this day. And I started working for him, and slowly as I would do jobs with him, my first job with him was with Clint Eastwood on the movie of American Sniper, the set of American Sniper, and we went and shot him, and I was like, what? What is life? What is life? This is crazy. I was shooting nobodies, and nobody would give me a chance, and I'm on set with Clint Eastwood. What? And to see him work was crazy, and to see his process and to learn how to run a photography business at the highest possible level was really all I cared about. But then I started doing more and more motion. Now my film background started to come in. We did this interview with the shoot with Madeline Albright, and I shot the whole, I took like these little lab mics and just shot the whole process of him working, and he loved it. And then that got him hooked on video. So every time he would shoot anybody, he would record that 30-minute interview. And that spiraled out of control, and then that turned into us going to the Congo. He did a job in the Congo to cover sexual violence for Human Rights Watch, and I just
was that the thing that was featured in Abstracts?
Yeah, that was My Body's Not a Weapon. So he went for that. Wow. But then I was shooting all this footage as we were there, and everyone's cell phone footage. We brought it all together and made a documentary called My Body's Not a Weapon, and then I won a bunch of awards, and then that really lit him up to start making documentaries. So now when I left as soon as 3 years as his assistant, I was like, I'm done. I don't want to be your assistant anymore. I just want my green card, and I don't want to be a 31-year-old assistant.
Interesting, yeah.
But then we became collaborative partners, which was the biggest thing. So now we just did a documentary for the UN about refugees in Turkey. We shot that last year. We're doing Montclair ads in Italy. We did a documentary that's still in the works called I'm Gonna Do It Anyway, which is about poverty in America and how Philadelphia is like this perfect petri dish of what's wrong with America, essentially, when you go to the hospitals, the healthcare, how poor people are treated, the drug epidemic. And then now we're going to Greece next week to do another documentary about, it's almost like a love poem about Greece, where he's from. But it's like, it's all these small, tiny, little incremental steps that lead to this goal. It's all about like falling in love with the process and learning to love to fail, learning to love to be uncomfortable, all the things you do, because that's where growth happens.
Right.
And I wouldn't be where I was if I never met Gabby or worked with Platon, because when I started working for Platon and learning how he runs his studio, how he lights his subjects, how he connects with people, how he can talk about his work, all of these things, it's like putting gasoline on a fire in terms of your career.
Yeah.
And that's what I guess why I started YouTube, is because I firmly believe you need three things as a creative. You need someone who you can learn from, it's like a mentor. You need someone that is on your level that you can share ideas with. And you need someone to teach. I feel like if you have those three people in your life as a creative, you're gonna be all right.
That's great. It's a great start.